Everybody, welcome to another episode of Recipe Wars. I'm Adrian Bustamante.
And I'm Lalita Lopansary.
And on this episode, we're doing one of my favorite desserts, if not my favorite.
Yes.
Chocolate chip cookies.
Who doesn't love chocolate chip cookies, right?
No, I mean, you're not human if you don't love a good, warm chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah.
Now, Lalita, you have whose recipe today?
Jacques Torres, Mr. Chocolate himself. Keeping it pretty traditional, using fancy chocolate, using a cross between cake flour and bread flour.
And I am doing a recipe from a famous restaurant here in Los Angeles called Auntie. And it's different because they're doing a really thin chocolate chip cookie.
Mm-hmm.
So let us take a look at the videos.
Right. This is my all-time favorite chocolate chip cookie in the
Thank
world.
you.
Michael Simon and I agree. No one outdoes Mr. Chocolate himself.
Michael,
Yes.
you have cookies for the rest of your life.
Unbelievable. A flat chocolate chip cookie may not sound or even look that appetizing, but folks who flock to Auntie M's kitchen know that in some cases, flat can be fantastic. And here to give me a crash course in vertically challenged cookies is former lead singer of the punk band Red Ants and Auntie M's owner, Terry Wall.
Terry, this place is cool, man. How you doing?
I've actually had their cookies before and they're amazing, but I'm still a little nervous because I do love a normal, nice, fluffy chocolate chip cookie. So it's gonna be a little
Yeah.
a fight today.
I've actually mistakenly made thin cookies and I didn't know what went wrong, and it was because I added too much butter to my batter.
So-
I was like, hey, but they're really good.
Yeah.
But so I'm going to start by sifting my flour. I'm using half bread flour and half cake flour. So the cake flour is bleached and it's going to give my cookie a lighter texture. And then the bread flour is going to kind of add in that gluten that the cake flour doesn't have. So in a sense, I'm making my own all-purpose flour. And I'm just going to sift my ingredients together with my baking soda, which is my leavening agent, and my baking powder, and some salt.
And now I'm putting together some flour as well as some salt and some baking soda. The baking soda will allow for a flatter cookie as well. And I'm just gonna whisk these together here to make sure they all come together nicely. And after that, I'll move on to my butter and sugar and egg mixture.
So I'm sifting my dry ingredients so to make sure that there are no lumps and that everything is distributed evenly. So if you were to use kosher salt, which is kind of a more crystallized, bigger in chunk salt, and you're trying to sift it, it's not going to go through your sifter. So just make sure you're choosing the right salt or put the salt in after you sift it.
Now, what I'm doing is adding 3.5 sticks of cold butter with my sugar. Now, putting cold butter in there is going to allow the sugar to actually penetrate into the butter a little bit easier and kind of almost create air bubbles. Now, what the air bubbles are going to do is when I add in my other ingredients, it's going to allow everything to mix together a little bit easier. So hopefully I'll get that flatter cookie I'm looking for by those necessary ingredients being in there better.
So in both of our recipes, we do the creaming method, which is kind of a basic technique that's used to make cakes, in our case cookies, where we're taking the butter and the sugar, and what we're doing is whipping air into our batter. So what that's going to do is make our cookie fluffier and lighter.
And by me adding 3.5 sticks of butter, mine's going to be just that much creamier, allowing it to spread hopefully thinner a little bit easier.
Yeah. So when we are doing our creaming method, we want to use a paddle attachment instead of the egg beater attachment, which looks kind of like this whisk here. And that's because the whisk is going to incorporate too much air, and you don't want that, and you have a chance of breaking your egg beaters as opposed to using a paddle attachment.
All right, my mixture is just about ready, but while it's kind of ending, I'm gonna add my vanilla extract to the mix. Let it go just a little bit longer, and then I will pull this off and
It'll be
share
my turn. Thank you.
with you.
So while he's removing his mixer, I'll wait for my turn, but I'm just gonna add my butter and my sugar. So I'm actually using 2.5 sticks of butter, while he's got 3.5
Yeah.
sticks of butter.
Let's go with a little extra butter, you know. There we go.
Thank you. So I'm just gonna start it slowly so it doesn't get all over the place, and then move it onto the higher speed. So my butter and sugar has just about done creaming and I'm gonna add my eggs. I don't wanna add it to the mixer itself because I wanna make sure that I'm not getting any shells into my mixture. And I'm gonna add my eggs one at a time to let it incorporate a little bit. And I just also wanna make sure that I am scraping down the sides of the bowl so everything is getting all that. So at this point, I'm going to add my vanilla. So if you look at both of our recipes, we're doing the exact same thing, except he's just using more butter and more sugar.
Well, the funny thing about chocolate chip cookies is it all stems from the Toll House recipe that was purchased by Nestle, and it's on the back of every Nestle bag. And just for copyright purposes, for the most part, whenever you see a recipe for chocolate chip cookies, it usually has a little deviation, but it all boils back to that same recipe from Toll House.
Right, right. It's just a matter of kind of understanding like what the butter is going to do to your batter, how much egg is going to affect it. All in all, kind of the same, just different ratios.
All in all, you're getting a very tasty chocolate chip cookie.
Yes. So my eggs, my vanilla, my sugar and butter is already all incorporated, and you can tell that it's nice and creamy because the color is actually a lot lighter.
And it looks creamy.
And I'm going to put my flour in, not all at once because it's just going, I'm going to make a flour shower on my face if I try to put all of it.
He doesn't like your flour shower.
So I'm going to slowly incorporate that, just a touch. And Jacques Torres mentions that you don't want to over whip your batter because although you want a chewy, gooey cookie, you don't want a tough, gooey, chewy cookie. Then that's what's going to happen if you over whip your dough. So as soon as you see all the flour incorporated, I'm going to fold in my chocolate pieces.
And you want those nice pools of chocolate in your cookie.
Exactly.
When you
Look
just
at all
bite
that.
into it and it just will come apart, or just you bite into those perfect pieces.
So my cookie dough is ready.
I'm gonna do the exact same thing that Lalita did while I'll be incorporating my flour and sugar mixture, waiting for it to all come together, and then I will, at the very end, incorporate my chocolate chips. Just enough, like I said before, to not break them apart, but just make sure there's enough chocolate chips for all my cookies. And there goes the first half of the flour. Like Lalita, I'm just gonna let it incorporate, so I'll do half, let it mix, and put the other half in. And the same thing, I mean, mine doesn't look much different than yours. And you'll notice that. I mean, there's not, that extra stick of butter is only gonna make a difference in regards to what I'm trying to do for making a thinner cookie, but you won't notice the difference just by visually looking at your batter.
Right. And now that my batter is completed, Jacques Torres, he likes to let his cookie dough sit in the fridge at least overnight. And what that's going to do is the flour is going to rehydrate, and I'm going to get a moister cookie. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in the fridge.
And I'm going to make sure my sides are all scraped down, so I'm incorporating every bit of flour in all my batter. Last bit of mixing before I add my chocolate chips. All right, there doesn't seem to be any white streaks or flour sitting on the outside of the batter, so now here go the chocolate chips. Now I'm using whole chocolate chips. In the recipe originally it said to use like thinner pieces, which obviously if making a thinner cookie might work better, but you can use either or depending on what you have in your house or in your store at home. Maybe your store near your home doesn't have the thinner chocolate chips, so.
So I magically have some dough that has been sitting overnight already for me. And I'm gonna make these little big boy chocolate chip cookies. And I'm using an ice cream scoop, and that way they're all gonna be evenly the same amount, and that way they'll cook evenly in the oven. And I'm using parchment paper, or you can use a silicone mat, but I would not use wax paper because wax paper is gonna make your cookies taste like crayons.
Ooh, that's not a good taste. Now I'm gonna do the same thing Lalita did. I'm gonna take mine off. I'm gonna chill my cookie dough so it's easier for me to pat down. Now I already had some chilling as well, and I'm going to use my scooper and evenly distribute a few of these cookies onto my baking sheet. Now with this recipe, you want to make sure that you're not putting too many cookies on the cookie sheet. The reason they're going to be patted down and flatter, so you don't want them to all of a sudden expand into each other and get one big cookie. So I'm probably going to put 3 or 4 of these on the baking sheet because mine's a little bit smaller. You might have a bigger one to kind of allow a few more, but I'm going to play it safe.
So in my recipe, Jacques Torres, he sprinkles a little bit of sea salt on top, and that's just gonna give it that extra unexpected bite when I get into my cookies.
Now I'm gonna pat these down with a spoon. I'm gonna put a little bit of water on the back side of my spoon, so hopefully it doesn't stick to it that much. It will stick a little bit, but pat it down. You don't want to go too thin, but just thinner than you normally would. Almost to the size that a regular cookie sometimes comes out of the oven at. What the recipe calls for is you're going to do it for about 15 minutes. 7.5 with it one way, take it out, rotate it, and do the other 7.5. That's how Auntie M's does it, so I'm going to try it and see if it makes a big difference.
Yeah.
All right, we're back. Our cookies are out of the oven. So now it's time to see which of these is going to win this recipe.
Yeah, I mean, look at the size of yours compared to mine.
I mean, that is
Totally different
That is a big
animals right
difference,
there.
and you can see on the backside for both of ours all the beautiful.
Chocolate in every bite,
Yeah.
right there.
So I think either way we're going to be a winner here. So let's do this. We'll split one cookie in half.
Okay, we'll go for yours
This
first.
is giant enough, so go that route.
Right.
You can either dip it in milk or you can just go straight on. Just gonna.
Let's try it as is for now.
Chocolate chip cookie. Thinner version, obviously. Crispy around the edges, which I like. But I will be very honest. I do like biting into a chocolate chip cookie and having that fluffy give to the cookie, whereas this one it's almost
Like this just bites too easy for you?
yeah, it's almost chip-like. But now, let's move on to yours.
Mine's got that little pinch of salt.
Oh,
on
look at that,
top.
look at that gooiness.
It's just good.
Just dude.
It's just good.
Oh, it's falling apart. This is gonna be good, I have a feeling.
I mean, we both baked our cookies to perfection, I think.
We think we did. I could eat either of these. But this is really good. This reminds me of a fresh Whole House cookie, where you just get the chocolate melting. Like it's all over my hands, and I barely even touched it. I like the addition of the salt. You know, has that salty to the sweet.
Unexpected hit of salt.
Yeah, and it's not
So-
all the way through the cookie. It's just in little bits and bites. So it's good. So I think it's time to make a decision here. We have to make a decision.
I definitely get what you were saying about just getting that bigger bite of the cookie rather than getting a chip.
Yeah.
I like Jacques Torres.
I'm gonna go with Jacques Torres as well, just because
Mr. Chocolate himself wins.
it's a cookie. It's what I would hope for. It comes out of the oven like Mom used to make. So Jacques Torres is gonna be the winner.
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, that is still a great take on a cookie.
Not a bad cookie at all. This is very good. I think if someone handed you this by itself, you'd be very happy as well. So that's it for this episode of Recipe Wars. Jacques Torres wins, whereas Auntie M's comes in second, but still a very good cookie. I'm Adrian Bustamante.
And I'm Lalita Lopansary.
And this has been another episode of Recipe Wars. Please subscribe to our channel, follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Google+. Until next week, we'll see you.